What's up, everybody? Welcome to SnailMail. This is our Friday show where we get to kick back, have some fun, and hang out with you guys out there, everybody out there. We have a voicemail that you can call into. It's a Google voicemail. It does not ring on our end. I think it actually rings when somebody calls in. I don't think it goes straight to the voicemail. So I wonder if there's a way I can fix that. So it just goes straight to the voicemail recording. I don't remember. But anyways, you can call in and leave us a voicemail about anything you like, any topic. It can be making fun of us. It can be talking about how short Jimmy is. You can if you want to talk about how much Jeeps suck, we can talk about that as well. Feedback from the show, whatever it is, trips you got going on, trail ratings, always a fun topic out there. Call us in and let us know what's on your mind. It's 916-345-4744. And we'll play the voicemail, and we don't really screen these. We just play them. And that way we don't get a chance to really plan on what you guys are talking about or how we're going to reply. It's kind of the fun part of it for us. So
yeah, it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
I do like Wreck-It Rob did do the shout outs of clubs. He was asking for other people to do shout outs of their clubs. Mm-hmm. Where are you located? Do you do any trail maintenance? What kind of fundraising or work do you guys have involved? Like what is required to be part of a club member? Like, is there an initiation process that happens, you know, whatever it is, I think that's a lot of fun. I think if you do the club shout outs, then maybe somebody in the area, in your local area, didn't know there was a club around, now might know that there's a club there. Yep. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. All right. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to kick it off here with Beer Craig.
Beer Craig. Awesome.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Beer Craig. Record time. 28 seconds right now. Stevo.Taco did the SnailTrail or SnailArmor panel. Just showed on his new video. The Morphlite. Hell yeah. We were talking about it. Seen videos of him wheeling. Seems like a cool dude. Jealous. 50 seconds. Done. Bye. That's how you quit. Fuck it.
He's getting better at his exit too.
Doing good, Beer Craig. That was great. Who did he shout out?
Stevo.Taco.
Oh, Stevo.Taco. Yeah, that was a fun one. Yep. He did a killer job. He did a really, he designed the panel for the most part. He would picked out the font. Mm-hmm. He found one, and I mocked it up and sent him the mock-up version. Mm-hmm. And he was, to his credit, and I like it. He was a little picky about it, right? And he was found one or two things that he didn't like about it. And me, with my graphic design background, I was able to tweak the things. He didn't like where the period was, so I was able to grab the period and shift it one way or another. And he didn't like one of the S's and how it started to encrease into the O, and so I was able to flatten the S's and change it all accordingly. So he kind of has a custom fontish thing on there. But and so that was a lot of fun to do. I think the panel came out very well, and then he did a fantastic little reel on it, and it actually drove a lot of traffic to the website, and
that's cool.
And some custom etching, which is exactly what you want as a business owner.
Exactly.
Is, I gave a panel out to a customer, worked with a guy that has a good influence reach and a lot of engagement on his channel. And that straight turned around into customers coming back into the inquiring about panels for themselves. So it worked out great.
What I find interesting about Stevo.Taco is that he runs Morphlite stuff and SnailArmor stuff, but he didn't reach out to both of us. He reached out to both of us independently of each other. Does he listen to the podcast, or does he?
I doubt it.
Did he just randomly come across our two products and I wonder if he even knows that we know each other, that we hang out all the time, and how that came to fruition.
I don't think he knows any of that. No, I'm guessing. I'm putting words in his mouth, of course, but I think he had Morphlite stuff.
Yep.
And I noticed I did my due diligence and looked him up and, checked out his page, and I saw they had Morphlate stuff already. And I think when I responded, I said, yeah, I'd love to work with you. And I think you have, a good audience, a good engagement rate, and you work with some cool companies. I'm a fan of Morphlate.
Yeah.
And I think that's the extent of
the connection.
Yeah, the connection for him. But maybe he knows, or maybe he's been told by now, but yeah, it's kind of fun.
All right. Well, cool. Let's see who's up next. We got Jeff Morgan.
Ooh,
Axle Talk. Axle Talk.
Okay, perfect.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Tyler, Jimmy. It's Jeff from Morgan. Want to talk about axles since Tyler has gotten a new vehicle that doesn't have third members. I know that will drive him nuts, and he'll eventually want to swap the axles out. And I'll probably talk about what I think you should put in that is stronger, higher clearance than anything else, and he's never even heard of it. But the first voicemail will be about Toyota axles and 8-inch stuff, which is garbage. It's the Japanese Dana 30. And anybody that runs them should get away from them. They're not strong, but they do share some components, which if you're building a lightish rig, 35-inch tires, some tricks you can do is you can, stick Dana 30 spline axle shafts into those carriers. So you can build a Dana 60 center section and stuff the IFS or even narrow Toyota axle shafts inside of that carrier and be able to use your Toyota backing plates, get the larger rig and pinion from the Dana 60, and be able to run all Dana 60 lockers and stuff. There used to be a kit from Yukon that sold Toyota ends. They had a 35 spline semi-float axle shaft. So you kept all your Toyota brakes, your Toyota backing plate, and then they sold you these aftermarket cut-to-length axle shafts, and you'd stick them into a Dana 60 house, and you'd lop the ends off of, turn it into a semi-float, 6-lug Dana 60. I don't know why that kit didn't take off more with as many people that just are in love, infatuated with Toyota axle shafts. I don't know, but anyways, that is my talk on the 8-inch. It's garbage. Need to get away from it. So next week I'll call in and we'll talk about a different third member type axle for Tyler to consider. Thanks.
HO72.
Maybe.
I don't know. Going to a Dana 60, when you're comparing a Dana 60 and Toyota 8-inch, it's no comparison in my mind.
No.
Like, yeah, the 8-inch is going to be weaker, but I don't think that's necessarily the reason why you stick with an 8-inch. You're sticking with an 8-inch for the ground clearance,
kind of,
in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know. In my opinion, if you don't keep a Toyota axle for the axle shafts.
No.
I don't think that's the point of keeping a Toyota axle. I think the point of keeping a Toyota axle is for those 8-inch diffs because they're numerous, they're everywhere. Parts are usually pretty cheap for them. They're not quite as cheap as a 10.5-inch ring and pinions at the moment. Those are like only $350.
Wow.
But you really keep the Toyota axles for the ground clearance. You're building a lightish rig. You're not building a super heavy rig. There's no point in having a big old Dana 60 unless you want a ton of unsprung weight to keep your center of gravity down. In my opinion, you're building Toyota axles and sticking with that 8-inch platform for the smaller diff, for the more ground clearance.
Sure.
That's my opinion.
I've made the argument. I want to talk about what he was talking about in just a second, but I've always made the argument of why I haven't really gone to full widths.
Yeah.
Is because and to some extent, I would lose ground clearance.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because going to full widths, like a Dana 60 or, an 05 up Super Duty set, I would have to go to 40s.
Mm-hmm.
I should go to 40s at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably would have less ground clearance than I currently have. And we have all a bunch of the numbers here, right?
Yep.
Where the Mule, and I'm primarily going to talk about the front because the rear one's shaved.
Yep.
Right. Is 13.5 inches underneath your front differential.
On 42s.
You're on 42s.
Yeah.
Right. So if we were to move that down to 37s, which I'm on.
Yep.
What we would go
2.5 inches less.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
So you would drop down to 11 inches
under the front diff
on 37s, and I'm at 12 and a quarter.
12 and a quarter. Yep.
So I'm gaining. I have with this. If we were on the same size tires, I have more ground clearance because of that 8-inch diff, and that's why I'm like, if this was on 40s, you go down 1 inch, you're at 12.5.
Yep.
And I'm at 12.25 on 37. So I'm still larger. Yep. I've barely a little bit more clearance. And granted, there's, you could do the shave kit and that gained you 1 inch. And I've shaved my rear, but for some reason it's measuring the same.
Yeah.
So I might want to check that out later, but, that's my argument why I'm still on Toyota 8 inches is because I'm at the upper echelon of like pushing the limit on, is it strong enough to hold my tires?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on 40s. I'm on 37s, but if I go any bigger tire size, then I do need larger axles.
Yeah.
But right now my setup, I'm not as wide, but my clearances are better than full widths.
Yeah. And I would argue, for weakness issues with the Toyota 8-inch, definitely, I would argue that people should not be running the 4-cylinder 8-inch carriers and third members. Run the V6 carriers and third members. They're much stronger, a lot more supported. You get a lot less deflection in the ring gear with the V6. And then that 8-inch high pinion that you can get out of FJ80s to put in your front is a really strong third member. It's not going to be as strong as a Dana 60 high pinion, but for the ground clearance you get out of it, I would argue it's on par with a 9.5-inch Land Cruiser low pinion setup in the front.
Sure.
So yeah, it's not the strongest thing out there. Dana 60 stuff is definitely going to be stronger, but what are you sacrificing to get that strength? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that ground clearance is one of the main reasons why people stick with the 8-inch platform.
Yeah. And it's cheap.
And it's cheap.
Relatively speaking. Things are all expensive now, but there's a lot of 8-inch stuff, 8-inch applications or 8-inch parts out there.
Yep.
It was an axle that was ran for a bunch of years.
Yep.
And so it's pretty easy to find the parts.
Yep.
So what was he saying? He was saying you could get a Dana 60 third member and then put Toyota shafts in there.
You'd put the Toyota 30 spline shafts into a Dana 60 carrier. And then you'd have it run from there out to your Toyota backing plates for your flange surfaces for the wheel mount surface and everything to bolt onto.
What vehicle is a 30 spline?
I think Dana 30. Dana 40 is 44 is a 30 spline. I think a 32 spline. I don't know.
Those aren't Toyota shafts.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm trying to figure out too. That part didn't make sense. Because I don't think the IFS shafts are 30 splines, any of them.
No.
So, and everything from Toyota into the carrier is 27 spline.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 30 spline in the aftermarket outer stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not quite sure how the maths up into that.
I do know that at some point they did have a kit where you could get, instead of a burr field, it has a CV or a U-joint, excuse me. Yeah. A U-joint inside of the knuckle.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. And maybe that's what he's kind of was talking about, or he was alluding to. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that people were able to like maybe take a Dana 30 axle shaft and put it into the 8-inch platform. Maybe those are compatible. I'm not sure.
I don't know why you do that though. A Dana 30 axle shaft is, I think, going to be smaller than the Toyota axle shafts. Diameter, yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
The Toyota axle shafts are essentially equivalent to a Dana 44 axle shaft. I want to say the Toyota axle shaft is like within, I want to say, a couple hundredths of an inch of a Dana 44.
It up one time.
We have that in one podcast somewhere early on. But they're pretty closely equivalent to Dana 44 axle shafts.
Right.
So
interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Call back.
Yeah.
Let us know more information about that. Or don't, because you don't like that 8-inch platform anyway. But maybe you called back the following week and we'll get to that on another episode, and we'll hear about your other axle that you have for us.
I want to hear about axles I've never heard of before.
Thanks for calling in, Jeff.
I did see, speaking of axles, I haven't heard of before, although I have heard of it. I just haven't heard of it in a while. Remember the episode where I talked about the HH72?
Yes.
There was another, not Fusion axle. What was Adam axle? It's essentially a solid housing with IFSCV axles within it.
Okay, I've seen that.
And so that one popped back up on my feed a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that axle.
Yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah. All right, next up.
Okay.
Richard from Atlanta.
Cool.
All right.
What up, Richard?
Here we go.
Yo, what's up? What's up, Tyler, Jimmy? It's Richard from Atlanta.
Hi, Richard.
Kind of still behind some episodes, but I didn't set a timer. I don't want to hit the 3-minute thing. Was just wanting to call in and talk about trail race. I'm just kidding. I heard Clint recently responded about rig creep. Was kind of addressing one of the issues, or several of the issues I was talking about. With guys on 40s and stuff like that, and I guess I do just in response. I could have some anger issues, I guess, but nothing directed to anybody directly other than my ex-wife. Anyhow, couple topics, and I don't want to change, add too many of these, but one of them was I've recently crashed out our tie rod and slammed into the drive shaft and knocked around one of the rear shock brackets on our Jeep at a benefit ride a few weeks ago. And it has me wanting to, I guess, as far as the rear shock bracket goes, I know one of the things that's popular with Jeeps is to relocate the rear shock upwards. Do you guys feel as though up travel is a benefit over down travel? A lot of the kits for Jeeps, as you may know or may not know, will move the rear shock, especially on a JK, upward, which essentially means the shock is in more of a compressed state at rest, which means you're losing up travel, less compression of the shock can actually happen versus extension. I was kind of curious as to your thoughts on that, kind of considering hacking off part of the lower bracket, moving the rear shock up just to kind of get that. I know part of my issues was just being on 35s as we are. So I guess that's it. I'm totally not trying to entertain hitting the 3-minute mark. So just wanted to call in and address Clint and give you all a joke about trail ratings, but more importantly, ask about up travel versus down travel. Mm-hmm. And again, this is non-buggy, trail only related stuff, like I got to be able to get out and drive it kind of thing. Talk to y'all later. Keep driving. Oh yeah, full other stuff.
Good question, Richard. I'm a big believer in down travel. But it really depends on what you're doing. Like what we have here in the Sierras, it's a lot of big boulders that we have to crawl over, and suspension travel and droop, down travel, is extremely valuable here because it allows our tires to come over boulders, get down to the ground, and still maintain traction. Right.
Yes.
However, if you're doing more high speed stuff, up travel is extremely valuable because as you're going up over whoops, as you're hitting bumps at high speed, you need your suspension to absorb that rather than toss the chassis around. Right. So if you're bumping out on your up travel, that means you're going to be throwing the chassis around, however it happens. Now in rock crawling, we can mitigate that by just going really slow, right? So we can tell when the chassis is getting pushed up over past the tipping point. Also, center of gravity plays a lot into that too. So we know where our tipping points are. So the more up travel you have in rock crawling, the more chance you have for articulation to happen before your chassis starts getting thrown around. But in rock crawling, we can work with chassis being thrown around because we go slow enough where we can feel the tipping point before tipping. Right. So I in rock crawling, I value a lot of down travel. I try and have my stuff set up for like 80% down travel, 20% up.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're doing that much, if you're doing more going around and high speed stuff and you want to go at things faster, then you want more up travel. So,
right. I agree for the most part. I think in regards to your question of like day-to-day driving on the roads, I mean, if you're driving on a road, you're probably only using about an inch-ish, maybe 2 inches of your
travel.
shock of travel total.
Yeah.
Unless you hit a speed bump or a dip at the road or, a pothole or something, then that's a different story. But just driving around, you're using almost no suspension.
Yeah.
There's your sway or whatever. But so if you're going to move that shock up, the bottom of the shock, compress it a little bit, that's not going to affect your day-to-day driving at all for the most part. My concern would be is if you're moving that up and you're going to be losing your up travel because of that, your shock only travels so much, right? Let's just hypothetically say you have 10-inch shocks in that vehicle. And if you're lifting it and 5 inches are showing right now the way that it is, but you're going to cut that lower bracket that hangs below the axle and you're going to move it up 2 inches. Right now you have 3 inches of shock showing and you have potential of 7 inches of drop. But the problem is now when you're driving down the trails or driving down anything, you're going to still have that normal 5 inches, or your suspension still wants its 5 inches of up travel. But now you are only allowing it to have 3 inches of up travel. So you're going to have to add bump stops or something to prevent yourself from bottoming out those shocks.
Yep.
So that you don't damage the shocks in the long run.
Yeah, you don't want your shock to be your bump stop.
Yeah.
I did that one time.
Let me tell you how that works. Yeah. That's Bobcat right now. Is the rear shocks are the limiting straps and the bump stops. So let's it doesn't work that great.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah. But on the flip side, like we were sort of saying, when you're rock crawling, you're not really going that fast. And I'm not trying to make an excuse of why I'm doing it. I'm just saying I feel like I'm not damaging the shock as bad because I'm not going as fast. It's not slamming shut or pulling completely out all at once, completely fast.
Yeah.
So I'm just stating that as something that you're going to need to consider if you're going to be compressed, like putting the shock more in a compressed state. Is your vehicle's suspension is designed to have so much up travel or down travel, and now you're going to limit it by the shock and the movement that your shock's going to do. So you're going to have to, if you're going to go the other way, you're going to need limiting straps. If you're going the compression way, you're going to need better bump stop situations.
Yep.
Does it matter? I don't think it's going to matter that much to you. Once you add those bump stops, I don't think you're going to notice it. If you had some really nice bump stops, Duro bumps or Perry-Builts or I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Timbrins, but a lot of people like them. If you're adding a good bump stop, you're never going to notice it for the most part if you're going to get to that point. Go listen to our Duro bumps episode when he talked about durometers and how the rubber works and everything.
That was a really cool episode.
It's a really neat episode. So that's my 2 cents. I don't think you're going to notice it too much. You should definitely limit your suspension so you're not damaging your shock. But I do prefer down travel with the type of off-roading that we do.
Yeah.
If I'm going more high speed stuff, then I'd probably want something that's more 50-50.
Yep. I will say relocate those bottom shock brackets. So if you have a JK or JL, they hang down so far below the axle and they're right there next to your tire. In theory, your tire is going to be up on stuff, but I have seen a lot of JKs get hung up on those shock brackets out on trails like the Rubicon and Fordyce. So I still don't I get that Jeep wants them down low because it helps with axle wrap and axle stability, suspension stability. But when they're designing a vehicle that's kind of designed for rock crawling, especially the Rubicon models, it's a bad spot to put shock brackets.
Yeah, you're limiting ground clearance. I don't understand why they do it. So there's probably a good reason that we just don't understand for it. But I think it's mainly a road driving stability issue, not so much an off-road situation.
I would agree. Cool. Next up, we got our lover from Montana.
It's not Nick from Greece.
Nope. He's sounds like he's back to Montana, Nick.
For what it's worth, I did get a text message from Nick, and he said that we are invited to Greece anytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, and he sent us a photo from his front porch, and it's literally like 100 yards to the ocean or to a lake or something.
A sea of some sort.
And there was a big big old, like, not a cruise ship, but just like a nice yacht out there. And I was like, oh, is that yours too? And he's like, I wish.
Bezos was out there at the time.
Maybe.
Anyway, all right, here we go. Nick from back in Montana.
All right.
What's up, fellas? Nick from Montana, back in the States. Camping versus glamping, I'll settle it for everybody. You can charge your phone, you're glamping. To put that on the spectrum of like a hard shell, soft shell, fucking Taco Bell, whatever. If you can charge your phone or get access to electricity to use modern technology, it's glamping. I'd also say if you have warm food, you're glamping. It's not really camping unless you're snuggled up with your buddy 3 pitches up, dug into a snow cave, cuddling for warmth because you can't get off the mountain. Anything less is just, for pussies. Anyway, don't suffer like I do and call it fun. Buy the trailer. Who gives a fuck if it's glamping? I wish that part of me wasn't broken, and whatever fucking weird thing that my body needs to like be near death and uncomfortable to like experience joy. I don't know. I wish I wasn't that way. But yeah. Anyway, love you, proud of you. Talk to you later.
I got arguments with that.
All right. Okay.
Well, we're in the off-roading scene. We are always around our vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Your vehicle can charge your phone.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're camping...
We're always glamping then.
And we're always glamping.
Yeah.
Even if we're throwing a tent down and a sleeping
cuddling
bag.
In a snow cave?
And cuddling in a snow...
Yeah.
We've been snow wheeling all day in our vehicles. And we make an ice cave to camp.
Uh-huh.
That makes us glamping because we can charge our phone while we're driving down the road.
Yep. Uh-huh.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, Nick.
I built a little water mill that has 2 coils of wire wrapped around each other so that it generates electricity and charges a battery.
Yeah.
While I'm out in my snow cave.
Right.
So I can charge my phone.
Because there's a lot of water running when it's a snow cave.
Don't pull my argument apart here.
Now, I will agree, if you have another mode to charge your phone other than a vehicle, maybe I could go that far. But
if I use an electric blanket in my snow cave to cuddle with my buddy, but I'm not charging my cell phone.
Yeah.
You're
going to get a lot of water drips on your head. Because that electric blanket's going to warm it up above 32.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
Yep.
But yeah, it's something to think about. If I'm carrying my lithium battery around to charge things and run my electric blanket, maybe I'm glamping at that point.
Yeah. I don't know about the warm food part. Because he even said if you have warm food, you're glamping.
Yeah. You don't carry a
jet boil or
a whisper light for all you serious backpackers.
Or even just something to start a little cooking fire.
Right.
I mean, you can start a little cooking fire and have it be this tiny little 6-inch diameter fire that you just warm up a burrito or warm up something on.
You're stuck out in the wilderness and you catch a squirrel and you start a little bonfire so you could cook your squirrel. That means you're glamping.
Yeah, right? I don't know, Nick. We're questioning your decisions at the moment.
I've been on Mount Shasta at Helen's Lake, 10,400 feet. And the ranger that was up there, because it was a holiday weekend, is telling people not to summit because the weather is so bad.
Uh-huh.
I still had warm top ramen.
Yeah.
In the tent.
Uh-huh.
So that definitely was not glamping. But I was cooking my top ramen.
Yep. Anyways, we'll have to test out different glamping theories.
After melting the snow to get water. Right? Because I didn't carry that water up there with me.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. All right. Different glamping theories.
We'll have to go and test different glamping theories with Nick in Greece, I think is what it comes down to.
I thought you were going to say with the assistant secretary. When do you consider yourself glamping?
That would be a fun topic for them. See where they sit on the glamping versus camping spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right. Let's see.
Let's do one more.
One more. Okay.
Yeah.
This one is back from Jeff Morgan.
Okay. From Oregon.
Jeff Morgan from Oregon. I don't know. I don't think his last name's Morgan, but that's what the transcript said was his Jeff Morgan, not Jeff from Oregon.
Got it.
Anyways, here we go.
Hey guys, this is Jeff from Oregon calling back about axle talks for Tyler's vehicle. This week we're going to discuss the Nissan H233B. It is a 9.17-inch ring gear, 1.31-inch axle size. Either comes in 31 or 33 spline and can be done in 35 spline. So think of this as like a Nissan's version of a 9-inch. Or Toyota's 9.5-inch. It's got a Atom 9 in the UK makes a 35 spline spool, so you can go to 35 spline axle shafts. You'd have to do some funky stuff on the ends to get it to all work, unit bearings or spindles or something to make it full float. But it comes in a lot of different ratios from the factory, 411, 430, 460, 557, 490, and then there's 488, 513, 589s, all available aftermarket. Gears are a little spindier than you'd think. They do make an ARB, a Spartan into Detroit I found online. They're 59-inch or 62.5-inch wide. I think these are a pretty good axle because they're stick plug. They can be adapted to Toyota if you're using Toyota front. So this would be a good swap candidate for Toyota. Guy wants a bigger ring and pinion. And the 94, 95 Pathfinders came with disc brakes in the rear. The ratios, HG 43 equals a 430 ratio. So if you find a tag that's HG 49, it's 490. The cool thing about these that I don't think is around anymore, there's a lot of guys that were considering running these in front axles. Diamond used to make a front housing for these. I don't think it's the case anymore. I don't think there's enough demand, but this would have been a good axle for somebody that's running 37s, 38s, has a Toyota front, wants to upgrade the rear because we all know the 8-inch is garbage, and wants to keep their 6-lug wheels because they spent way too much on wheels before they became men and went to 8-lug. That's it, guys. Hope you're having a good week, and that's it. Call next week about another dropout third-member axle. I will not be discussing Land Rover axles because they're shit. Land Rover suck.
Shots fired.
Long live the 8-inch.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really cool. I'm amazed at. There's a lot of really cool stuff that Nissan makes.
Yes.
We just don't get it here in the States.
Not normally. Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? I've been hearing about these really awesome 10.5-inch Nissan axles in Australia that you can get under a bunch of the Nissan Patrols and the Utes out there. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Bring those to the States. What are you guys doing, man? That's what we want here.
I just don't. It was funny listening. Who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Kurt Williams, or maybe it was Clay from I forgot. Expedition. No, Expedition Overland.
XO. Okay.
XO. I was talking to one of them, or it was the three of us kind of hanging out at Overland Expo West like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And they were talking about how Toyota did not realize the overland market.
Oh, yeah.
They had no idea what it was. Right. And it wasn't until the corporate people from Japan came over to an Overland Expo West event and saw what Americans were doing with the Toyota Tacomas.
Yeah.
And how they were outfitting them for overland expeditions and how the Toyota Tacoma is not a farm truck.
Yeah.
It's an outdoor like recreation vehicle.
It's a recreation lifestyle vehicle. Mm-hmm. It's not a fleet contractor or farm truck, which is what they thought it was.
Exactly.
That's what they thought the sales from the United States were going to.
100%. They did not realize that people were like wanted creature comforts in the Toyota Tacoma. And it wasn't even then until like 2023 that they got electric seats in the Tacoma or whatever. Maybe, it was 22 or 23, something like that. Silly. But I think Nissan's on the same place, right? Granted, Nissan's not as sold as much in America as Toyota is, but both of those corporations don't understand what the American market actually wants.
Yep, I would agree.
And granted, also, you and I are very small subset of those markets.
No, we're not. Everybody wants what we want, Jimmy.
But not, I think the people that are modifying their Toyotas or modifying their Nissans or stealing parts from those vehicles is a small subset of the person that's going to be building an overland rig or just buying it to daily drive.
Yeah.
And so I think corporate's really looking at how do we just sell more compared to like, how do we niche down to a certain market?
Yeah.
But I do know that like the Nissan Patrol sounds like a badass vehicle.
Right.
And I don't know why we don't get that in America.
I don't either.
And Nissan does make some really cool off-road, like just parts in general, components. But on the flip side, Jeff, my argument against you would be, why don't you guys make a 9-inch?
That's what I was going to say.
Because you're now looking like, unless you're like, I'm a Japanese diehard fan and I want to stick with something that's Japanese and you love the way that, you know, the Japanese culture and the way that they do things and how they are, you know, a sign of reliability. It seems like you might as well just get a 9-inch and you could probably build it for cheaper. And they still have all that. Everything that you more or less mentioned is available in a 9-inch.
Yeah, you can totally make it's the wonderful world of 9-inch, as Brian Ellinger would say from Diamond Axle. You can do anything you want with 9-inch. Everything's available. Anything you want to do. If you want to do Toyota 6-lug on a 9-inch, you can totally do that. If you want to do 8-lug, if you want to do 30 spline, 32, 35, 40 spline, you can do all that on a 9-inch. You can get 10-inch ring gears on a 9-inch. There's all the gear ratios are available for 9-inch.
Yeah.
Like everything's there. And so, at that point, if you're getting something as equivalent, but is about as rare as unicorn farts in the United States, just go with the 9-inch, the Ford 9-inch.
Yeah, I agree.
But cool option. It's fun to hear that Nissan has something in equivalence of Ford 9-inch. They just don't have it in the United States. So it's like, Nissan, come on.
Yeah.
just start a Nissan 9-inch program in the United States for all the off-roaders.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my own, like I highly consider getting a 9-inch in the rear of Bobcat or Samantha. And my hesitance is it's actually that world of 9-inch is so vast that it's a bit intimidating to enter into.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't know what I don't know. It's like, I can't look at an axle and be like, that's the one I want. And I'm like, well, that one's, you know, I want one that's 1 inch longer. Oh, that axle's available for you in this other models of cars. You know, it's just like, it's overwhelming to some extent. So, I mean, if I were to do a 9-inch build, I'd probably just build it from scratch and do a custom axle because I can choose all those things at once.
Yep. Well, cool. Fun axle talk today. I love Axle Talk podcast here on the SnailTrail4x4. So thanks for calling in, Jeff. I'm curious to hear about the next axle he has to talk about.
Were those a week apart, or did he just say they were going to be a week apart because we are so slow for getting through some of these things?
Let me see. What was the time frame on him calling in on those?
The first one.
First one was September 20. Sorry, this first one was September 16th. Second one was September 23rd.
Okay, so we're about a week apart. All right.
Yeah.
So we were able to get those in within the same episode.
So let's see. Does he call back on September 30th? September 29th.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet. So next, possibly next episode, next snail mail, we'll get to that one.
Yep.
Cool. This is fun, Jeff. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, everybody. Nick will hit you up about Greece and talking about glamping out at Greece and doing some testing out there.
Yeah.
And keep calling in, Jeff. I love talking the axles. So if you guys want to call in, do it. 916-345-4744. We love chatting with you. Hopefully you guys all have some fun plans for the weekend. Be safe out there. We'll see you Monday with a fun episode about the gift boxes. And with that, I think that does it, Jimmy.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
The number you have called has been disconnected.